Title: The Haunted Doll That Killed Its Owners. It was a cold, moonless night when Sarah first noticed the doll sitting on her porch. Its glassy eyes seemed to follow her every move, and its porcelain face bore a smile that was far too wide for comfort. Little did she know, this doll was no ordinary toy. It was a vessel for something far more sinister. By the time she realized the truth, it was already too late. This is the story of the haunted doll that killed its owners, and why it's still out there, waiting for its next victim. Sarah had always been drawn to the macabre. Her small, cozy home was a shrine to the strange and unusual. Antique mirrors with cracked frames, dusty books on the occult, and shelves lined with eerie trinkets. But nothing in her collection compared to the doll she found that fateful afternoon at the local flea market. The stall was tucked away in the farthest corner of the market, almost as if it didn't want to be found. The vendor, an elderly woman with piercing blue eyes and a knowing smile, beckoned Sarah over. "I have something special for you," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. From behind the counter she produced the doll. It was beautiful, in an unsettling sort of way. Its porcelain face was flawless, its cheeks rosy, and its eyes a deep, unnatural blue. It wore a tattered Victorian dress, and its tiny hands were clasped together as if in prayer. Sarah was instantly captivated. "How much?" she asked, already reaching for her wallet. The woman hesitated, her expression darkening. "This doll is not for sale," she said slowly. "It's a gift, for the right person." Sarah frowned. "But I want it. Please, name your price." The woman studied her for a moment, then sighed. "Very well. But be warned, this doll is not what it seems. It has a history." Sarah laughed nervously. "It's just a doll. How much trouble can it be?" The woman's eyes bore into hers. "Take it, but remember, you've been warned." That night, Sarah placed the doll on the mantelpiece in her living room. It looked almost lifelike in the flickering light of the fireplace. She couldn't shake the feeling that its eyes were following her as she moved about the room. As she climbed into bed, she heard a faint sound, a soft, rhythmic tapping. She sat up, her heart pounding. The sound was coming from the living room. "Hello?" she called out, her voice trembling. There was no response. She grabbed her flashlight and crept downstairs. The living room was empty, but the doll was no longer on the mantelpiece. It was sitting on the couch, its head tilted to one side, its glassy eyes staring directly at her. Sarah's breath caught in her throat. "This isn't funny," she whispered, though she was alone in the house. She picked up the doll and placed it back on the mantelpiece, trying to convince herself she must have moved it without thinking. But deep down, she knew she hadn't. Over the next few days, strange things began to happen. Sarah would wake up to find the doll in different rooms of the house, even though she was certain she hadn't moved it. The tapping sound returned every night, growing louder and more insistent. One evening, as she was preparing dinner, she heard a voice, a faint, childlike whisper. "Sarah." She dropped the knife she was holding and spun around. The kitchen was empty, but the doll was sitting on the counter, its head tilted at an unnatural angle. "Who's there?" she demanded, her voice shaking. The doll's lips didn't move, but the voice came again. "Sarah, play with me." She stumbled backward, her heart racing. This couldn't be real. It had to be her imagination. But the voice was unmistakable. Desperate for answers, Sarah turned to the internet. She searched for information about haunted dolls and stumbled upon a forum dedicated to the paranormal. There, she found a thread titled, "The Doll of Death." The post described a doll with the same porcelain face and tattered Victorian dress. According to the thread, the doll had been passed down through generations, each owner meeting a tragic end. One woman claimed her grandmother had owned the doll and died under mysterious circumstances. Another said her sister had gone mad after bringing the doll into her home. The final post in the thread was from a user named Evelyn. It read, "If you're reading this, it's already too late. The doll has chosen you. There's no escape." Sarah's hands trembled as she closed her laptop. She had to get rid of the doll. The next morning, Sarah took the doll to the local dump. She threw it into a pile of trash, watching as it disappeared beneath the rubble. She felt a wave of relief as she drove home, convinced she had finally rid herself of the cursed object. But when she walked into her living room, the doll was sitting on the mantelpiece, its glassy eyes staring at her. "No!" she screamed, backing away. "This isn't possible!" The doll's head tilted slowly, its smile widening. "You can't get rid of me, Sarah," the childlike voice whispered. "We're connected now." That night, Sarah couldn't sleep. The tapping sound was louder than ever, and the whispers were constant. She barricaded herself in her bedroom, clutching a baseball bat, but she knew it was futile. At midnight, the door creaked open. The doll stood in the doorway, its tiny feet dragging across the floor. Sarah screamed, swinging the bat, but it passed straight through the doll as if it were made of air. The doll's eyes glowed a deep, unnatural blue. "It's time, Sarah," it whispered. "Time to join the others." Sarah's vision blurred, and she felt a cold, suffocating presence wrap around her. She tried to scream, but no sound came out. The last thing she saw was the doll's smiling face, as everything went black. The next morning, Sarah's neighbor noticed her curtains were still drawn. Concerned, she knocked on the door, but there was no answer. She called the police, who broke into the house. They found Sarah's body in the living room, her face frozen in a look of pure terror. The doll was sitting on the mantelpiece, its glassy eyes staring at the officers. One of them picked it up, examining it closely. "Weird," he muttered. "It's cold to the touch." As he placed it back on the mantelpiece, the doll's head tilted slightly, and its smile seemed to widen. The doll was placed in an evidence locker, but it didn't stay there long. Within days, it disappeared, only to reappear in the home of its next victim. The cycle continues to this day, and the doll's true origins remain a mystery. But one thing is certain: if you ever come across a porcelain doll with glassy blue eyes and a tattered Victorian dress, don't bring it home. Because once it chooses you, there's no escape. And so, the haunted doll continues its reign of terror, passing from one unsuspecting owner to the next. Who will be its next victim? Only time will tell. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more spine-chilling tales. And remember, sometimes the most innocent-looking objects can be the most dangerous. Until next time, stay safe and sleep with the lights on. If this bone-chilling tale left you with goosebumps, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe to Haunted Chronicles for more terrifying stories that will haunt your dreams. Share this video with your bravest friends, if they dare, and let us know in the comments. What's the scariest encounter you've ever had? Turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new upload. Until next time, stay safe. And remember, the shadows are always watching.